April 8, 1943, 27,000 feet above Caen, France. The oxygen mask couldn't hide Oberleutnant Ralph Hermiken's smirk as he watched the ungainly silhouettes climbing laboriously toward his formation through the crystal-clear canopy of his Focke-Wulf 190F5. The veteran ace of Jägerschwader 26 studied the American fighters making their combat debut over occupied Europe. "My friend, they've sent us flying milk bottles," he laughed over the radio, mocking the massive Republic P-47 Thunderbolts struggling for altitude below. 16 P-47CS of the 4th Fighter Group lumbered upward in tight formation. Their 2,000 horsepower Pratt & Whitney are 2,800 double Wasp engines straining under 7 tons of steel and armor. To German eyes, these aircraft looked absurd, barrel-bodied machines with tiny wings and oversized propellers. What Hermiken didn't know, what none of the Luftwaffe pilots circling above could have imagined, was that they were witnessing the birth of the weapon that would soon destroy Germany's fighter arm. Within 18 months, those flying milk bottles would become instruments of terror. Their 8.50 caliber Browning machine guns would unleash over 6,000 rounds per minute, enough firepower to tear a Messerschmitt in half in less than 2 seconds. The mathematics of destruction were already written into those broad wings. That morning, Major Donald Blakesley of the 335th Fighter Squadron spotted the German formation. A former RAF Eagle Squadron veteran, Blakesley knew what his men didn't yet realize. Survival in AP-47 meant unlearning everything they thought they knew about air combat. The Thunderbolt wasn't built for grace. It was built to dominate the sky through mass, power, and raw fire. Among the 56 American pilots spread across the French sky that day were men who would later become legends. But on April 8, 1943, they were rookies, facing the most experienced fighter force in the world. The Germans had been fighting since 1939, veterans of Poland, France, Britain, and Russia. The Americans, 0 days of combat experience. This is the story of how industrial logic defeated tactical brilliance, how steel, horsepower, and American engineering merged into overwhelming superiority. The P-47 Thunderbolt's journey began in June 1940, when Alexander Kartveli, Republic Aviation's Georgian-born chief designer, received urgent orders from the U.S. Army Air Corps. They wanted a high-altitude interceptor to challenge the Luftwaffe. What Kartveli designed instead was a monster. "It will be a dinosaur," he told his engineers, "but a dinosaur with good proportions." When the XP-47B first flew on May 6, 1941, it shocked everyone. Weighing nearly 10,000 pounds empty, 65% heavier than its predecessor, it looked more like a bomber than a fighter. Test pilots laughed. "Does this thing even fly?" But it did. And at high altitude, it flew like nothing else in the world. The R-2800 engine could maintain full power at 27,000 feet, where German engines gasped for air. The secret? A massive turbo-supercharger that delivered sea-level performance in the stratosphere. Major Hubert "Hub" Zemke, commanding the 56th Fighter Group, initially despised the plane. Training accidents were brutal, 18 pilots dead, 41 aircraft lost. Yet those who mastered it discovered something extraordinary. Lieutenant Robert Johnson would later say, "It was like strapping yourself to a locomotive. You didn't fly it, you aimed it." The first encounters in April and May 1943 seemed to confirm every German prejudice. The P-47s couldn't turn with the Focke-Wulfs, couldn't climb with the Messerschmitts, couldn't match their agility at medium altitudes. Luftwaffe pilots quickly developed tactics to exploit those weaknesses, attacking from below, forcing turning fights, and laughing as the heavy Thunderbolts struggled to respond. Oberst Joseph Pips Priller, commander of Jägerschwader 26, wrote after his first engagement, "The new American fighter is meat for the slaughter. It flies like a truck, turns like a freight train, and climbs like a pregnant cow." For the first month, German confidence soared. American squadrons lost 14 Thunderbolts for only 3 confirmed kills. Even their British allies mocked them. RAF pilots joked that the best evasive maneuver in a P-47 was to unstrap and run around the roomy cockpit. But something was happening the Germans didn't yet understand. The P-47s that were shot down had absorbed staggering amounts of punishment before falling. One Thunderbolt returned from a May 4th mission with 21 cannon hits and over 100 machine gun holes, damage that would have vaporized a Spitfire. Yet the P-47 kept flying. Its massive radial engine, air-cooled, not liquid-cooled, meant it could shrug off hits that would have destroyed other fighters. More importantly, when the Thunderbolts did get their guns on target, the results were catastrophic. 8.50 caliber Brownings spitting fire in perfect synchronization created a zone of destruction no pilot had ever seen before. German planes didn't just fall, they disintegrated. And the moment that would change everything came in June 1943. June 26, 1943, over Lisieux, France. Second Lieutenant Robert S. Johnson of the 61st Fighter Squadron was returning from escort duty when his formation was ambushed by 16 Focke-Wulfs led by Wilhelm Ferdinand Galland, the younger brother of the famous Adolf Galland. The attack was flawless, diving from the sun with blinding speed. Johnson's P-47, flying rear guard, was torn apart in seconds. 20mm shells exploded across his aircraft. The canopy shattered, hydraulic fluid sprayed the cockpit, and fire erupted behind the instrument panel. Wounded and half-blind, Johnson tried to bail out, but his canopy had jammed. A cannon shell had welded it shut. He was trapped in a dying aircraft at 27,000 feet. Then, the impossible happened. With a crippled engine, shredded controls, and oil covering the windscreen, Johnson leveled his Thunderbolt and pointed it toward England. The P-47 refused to die. It flew, limping, shaking, bleeding smoke, but it flew. Then, a lone Focke-Wulf appeared behind him. The German pilot opened fire, 4 20mm cannons and 2 heavy machine guns pounding the Thunderbolt. Johnson could do nothing but huddle behind his armor plate and pray. The German emptied his cannon shells, then repositioned and fired again with his remaining ammunition. Still, the P-47 held together. Finally, the German pilot pulled alongside, close enough for Johnson to see his face. Blonde, young, his expression shifting from confidence to disbelief to fear. He saluted Johnson and peeled away. Johnson's P-47 landed safely in England, riddled with over 200 bullet holes. 3 of the 4 main fuselage beams were shot through. The engine was nearly destroyed, but the aircraft had brought its pilot home. The message was clear: the P-47 wasn't just powerful, it was indestructible. The survival of Johnson's Thunderbolt sent shockwaves through both air forces. American engineers couldn't believe their own creation had endured so much damage, while German intelligence dismissed it as impossible, until multiple Luftwaffe pilots confirmed it. By July 1943, the Americans began to understand the Thunderbolt's true power. Colonel Hubert "Hub" Zemke, commanding the 56th Fighter Group, had learned the hard way. Don't turn with them. Don't climb with them. Use your weight. Use your power. Use your guns. The P-47's greatest weakness, its massive weight, had now become its most dangerous weapon. In a dive, nothing could catch it. From 30,000 feet, a Thunderbolt could reach speeds of over 550 miles per hour, faster than any German fighter could achieve. That speed could then be turned into altitude again in a vertical climb, leaving pursuing fighters helplessly behind. Captain Walker Bud Mahurin, one of America's first aces in Europe, refined this into a new combat doctrine, the boom and zoom tactic. But among the pilots, it earned another name, the Thunderbolt turkey shoot. Instead of turning dogfights, the P-47s would climb high, above the Germans. When enemy aircraft appeared below, they would roll inverted and dive, using gravity itself as a weapon. At the bottom of the dive, their 8 machine guns would open fire, unleashing a wall of lead. German pilots described it as flying into a hurricane of bullets. They didn't just see the tracers, they felt the air vibrate from the impact of thousands of .50 caliber rounds. The Luftwaffe had never faced this kind of raw industrial power in the sky before. The full potential of American firepower revealed itself on August 17, 1943, during the dual bombing raids on Schweinfurt and Regensburg. It was the deepest penetration into Germany attempted so far, and the first true test of the Thunderbolt's combat philosophy. The mission exposed its one lingering weakness: limited range. Even with drop tanks, P-47s couldn't escort bombers deep into Germany. But within their reach, they were devastating. Major David Schilling, leading the 62nd Fighter Squadron, spotted a formation of Messerschmitt Bf-110s, twin-engine heavy fighters loaded with cannons and rockets, designed to destroy bombers. Schilling's flight of 4 Thunderbolts dove in from above. The Germans, realizing the threat too late, broke formation. But it was over. The P-47s tore through them like thunder, 8 Brownings each spewing over 700 rounds per minute. When the smoke cleared, 6 Bf-110s were burning in the sky. The Thunderbolts didn't just protect the bombers that day, they rewrote the Luftwaffe's tactical playbook. By the end of 1943, the Germans were forced to adapt or die. Their pilots stopped laughing at the flying milk bottles. They began to fear them, and in the months to come, that fear would evolve into panic. By early 1944, the Thunderbolt had transformed from an underestimated brute into the most feared escort fighter in Europe. Its pilots, once rookies mocked by the Luftwaffe, were now aces writing new rules of aerial warfare. Lieutenant Robert Johnson, once the rookie who barely survived Lisieux, now commanded respect even among German veterans. He and others from the 56 Fighter Group, men like Francis Gabreski and Dave Schilling, became legends, credited with hundreds of victories combined. Their tactics evolved. Thunderbolts would climb above enemy formations, dive like meteors, strike with devastating fire, then climb away untouched. It wasn't elegant dogfighting. It was industrial warfare in the sky. The Luftwaffe began losing not just aircraft, but morale. German pilots realized that no matter how skilled they were, they couldn't outfly horsepower or outclimb a machine that could take hits their own planes couldn't survive. By mid-1944, Thunderbolts roamed the skies in massive sweeps, hunting trains, convoys, and airfields. Their 8 Brownings shredded locomotives, fuel depots, and columns of tanks. To the soldiers on the ground, that heavy, hammering sound became synonymous with destruction. The same pilots who once joked about flying milk bottles now whispered warnings when they heard the roar of the double Wasp engine overhead. To the Luftwaffe, the P-47 had become what they called der Bulldozer der Luft, the bulldozer of the skies. And they weren't wrong. By the end of World War II, the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt had flown over 500,000 combat sorties. It destroyed over 7,000 enemy aircraft in the air, and tens of thousands of vehicles and ground targets below. No other Allied fighter combined such speed, durability, and firepower. It was an aircraft born from desperation, forged in American industry, and refined by the blood and courage of its pilots. The men who flew it knew one simple truth: if you were in a Thunderbolt, you had a chance. Robert Johnson would later say, "I'd rather fly a P-47 than any plane ever built. She might not be the prettiest girl at the dance, but she'll always get you home." The P-47 story isn't just about machinery. It's about transformation, from laughter to terror, from doubt to dominance. It represents the moment when mass production, engineering genius, and pilot grit combine to turn the tide of war. So the next time you see that thick, stubby silhouette in a museum or photograph, remember what it meant. That sound, the roar of 8 Brownings, was the anthem of a new kind of warfare. A thunder rolling across the skies, and the end of the Luftwaffe's reign. CTA. If you enjoyed this story of engineering, courage, and transformation, make sure to follow for more untold histories brought to life, one mission at a time.